All right. Want to bring in Congressman Tim Huelskamp. He's been saying he's against Boehner's bill. He joins us from Washington today. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So we've been chatting for the past few minutes about the markets. You can see they're going to open lower today. Some of these key interest rates beginning to spike a little bit. Here's the front of the Daily News. Has a picture of both Reid and Boehner. Grow up is the main headline. How much stress do you need to see before you change your mind, if at all?
Well, we need solutions and not deals. The uncertainty created by Washington's regulations and taxation, uncertainty in health care. I mean, we see that rolling into the economy. Now we have a downgrade of the last quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year. The Obama economy is not doing very well, and that's because of what's going on in Washington. But on this debt ceiling issue, we have a long-term problem of another $10 trillion worth of debt coming in the next decade under the president's budget, and we got to find a way to bring that down because it's not a problem for tomorrow or the next day or August 2nd. It's for next year and the next decade.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of Republicans, I'm sure you know who they are, who've argued, look, the president initially wanted a clean vote, didn't get that. He wanted no revenues, new revenues. He's not going to get that. The ratio of cuts to the ceiling, all of those things he gave up, you proved your point. Why let the perfect be the enemy of the good?
Well, the compromise was cut, cap, and balance. I voted for the president's debt ceiling increase if he did three things. Cut the spending immediately, cap future spending, and pass a balanced budget amendment. That's a short-term, medium, and long-term solution. I think it's the ultimate compromise, and Harry Reid refused to bring it up to a vote. It's still sitting over in the Senate, and he could bring it up any time.
I think that's the plan that has the most. Compromise that both sides are willing to take. I mean, you can't say that one thing is a compromise if nobody else is going to bite.
Well, what is Senator Reid's compromise is the question. If you have no plan, if you've had no budget for 820 days, it's time for Harry Reid to come to the table and President Obama to actually put out a plan. There's two people here, the Senate president and the President of the United States. They have no plan. They sit on the sidelines and they're watching in the House. That's our difficulty.
All right, Congressman, look, I understand your position. I'm for big spending cuts, too. But tonight, I will be at my Mad Money desk, and I will be getting calls from real people, regular people, including people like your constituents, and they're going to say, I just lost a huge amount of money from my retirement, for what I was going to put away for my kids to go to college. I want to know, what do I say to them? Do I say, hey, listen, sorry, collateral damage? You heard Congressman Huelskamp. He said there's bigger issues. Do I just tell them no pain, no gain because of the Tea Party?
Well, here's the problem is far too many in Washington and oftentimes on Wall Street, they talk about the next hour, the next minute, the next day. We have a huge debt crisis facing us. We have to face it now. Within the next decade, the president's budget would give us $10 trillion more debt. And I don't think there's an economist in the world that says we can take on that debt with no problem. That's why the economy is starting to slow down, the uncertainty in Washington. We need to create more revenue. We do that by having less regulation and less control from Washington. That is slowing down our entire economy.
So I should tell them that? I should just tell them about what an economist says? These are real people, sir. This is not people who are running $1 billion at J.P. Morgan. These are people who are going to lose a lot of money today. And as far as they're concerned, the reason why they lost it is because of people like you who won't compromise. I want to come up with something to say to them that is like maybe, I don't know, like a tweet. Like, give me 90 words to say to them so I can reassure them that they're not going to lose a fortune.
Well, they need to talk to experts like yourself at S&P and Moody's as well, who are threatening a downgrade unless we have a solution. No one in this country would like a downgrade of our credit rating. That will hurt everybody. And they said unless we cut about $4 trillion and project to cut that over the next decade, we would potentially have a downgrade. So this plan's not good enough. We will have a downgrade next week or next month is what they are telling us unless we have a real long-term solution. And those are the facts of the matter. We've been borrowing money in Washington, D.C. without end. This administration's been on a spending binge, much greater than the previous administration, but you just can't borrow and spend like there's no end. Someday the bill comes due, and most of my constituents understand that very well.
Good. They're going to be much poorer by the end of the day. I hope they understand that, too. Thank you.
Realistically, Representative, what is the way forward from here? The plan that you back is basically dead. Representative Boehner's plan, we don't know what's going to happen with that. What's the next step here realistically? Because we are on a very tight time frame here, and there are estimates that every day that goes beyond the debt ceiling, we're going to be losing 0.5% in GDP here.
Well, I don't know about estimates of that. The Treasury Department, we've asked them for weeks, provide us your details about this August 2nd deadline. That's clearly an artificial deadline. It looks like it'll be August 15th. 1995 and 96, they had a debt ceiling dilemma as well, and they actually made some structural changes that at least put the problem off for longer. We need to solve our problems. Most Americans aren't worried about a deal. They want a solution that works, that will put our economy on the right track. The economy is starting to slow down because of what Obama's been doing on a lot of fronts. We need some certainty, and that's what we're trying to get out of this deal in Washington, D.C.
David?
Congressman, I mean, one way to get revenue increases is to actually increase taxes. We have the lowest tax regime we've had.
That will not bring in more revenue.
Why not?
That's the last thing we need is to raise taxes.
We've had the lowest tax regime for the last decade. By the way, it hasn't really helped our economic growth, by the way. And those who point to spending having increased more under Obama, I mean, half of that, of course, came in the form of the stimulus package, which was designed to try. Did the stimulus
package work? $1.1 trillion, and the economy is still going south.
By the way,
we don't need more taxes. We need more taxpayers.
Half of that was tax cuts. Significant bill when it comes to cuts.
I don't know for certain what the real deadline is because the Treasury Department will not provide us with those numbers. We just know it looks like August 2nd was an artificial deadline, just happened to be the day before the big birthday party. I don't know what happens around here. Washington, D.C. is so stuck on the same old status quo, which is what got us in this problem where we have $14.3 trillion of debt and requesting $2.4 trillion. That's not a good situation for anyone. We need a long-term solution, and we got to cut spending. That's as easy as it gets. It's tough to make those decisions, but it's very clear what we need to do.
But before we go, and we do have to go, does Speaker Boehner, is his speakership in jeopardy?
No, it's not. I mean, we elect him as Speaker. He's working hard when you have a Senate and a President that are standing on the sidelines again and again. 820 days since Harry Reid even passed a budget.
Right,
so
but you still support him despite not supporting his bill?
Oh, absolutely. That happens all the time in Congress.
Congressman, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for your time.
Thank
Congressman
you.
Tim Huelskamp.